Oh dear.
The only reason I've realised is because all the comments and all the comments on the chat box are, why are they late for their own live? Why are we late for our own live?
Hey, we've been having a good old time.
No, we are live. We are live now, and
All
and all I will say, fellas, is my fault, my screw up.
Yeah.
You know, I spilled all the secrets too. I tell
Yeah,
they
no,
missed-
I mean, all the stuff they missed. I mean, we can't. Obviously, we didn't record it, so we can't go back.
Yeah,
over
and
it.
we're sworn to secrecy, so we
Yeah,
can't even say.
so
Well,
it's-
come earlier then. The next time you lot,
No, it doesn't matter if they came earlier.
I
They
know.
were on time. I still cocked it up.
just blame them.
I'm not sure if I can. Not
This,
in
this
good
is
conscience.
international conference time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. It's we, Paddy, we, Jud, and we have Donny from Jack Wolf Knives, and he's here to share his thoughts on this release that we're going to talk about tonight. He's going to talk about his own knife collection, and he's brought a few of his. In fact, I think he's brought all his knives with him. Oh, look at that, lovely! He's brought all his knives with him, but first of all, he was at the Texas Blade Show with Jack Wolf, selling the product. Be that knives or just a name, and I'd love to hear about it because never been to such a big show. We have a small one here which has about 60 or 70 tables probably this year.
Like that,
Which, you know, it's small compared to somewhere like where you were. I would take it. Do you know how many tables was at it roughly?
Oh wow, that's a good question. You know, I'm not sure because it had to be hundreds. That's all I know. It had to be hundreds. And then there was a nice large section of larger booths, you know, larger companies like Sierra KT, different, you know, Case Knives had a very large booth. But Blade, Texas is a special place because it's just a show. It's a knife guy's knife show. It's just very cool. A lot of, you know, you get all the big cowboys and the hats and big Bowie knives and
lovely.
You know, a lot of really premier knife makers, master bladesmiths are there.
Some of the custom work that was on show was just unbelievable.
Yeah. One of my favorites. He's actually the reason he's a favorite too is just because of proximity. I know Ben's talked about Corey Dunlap a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he made one of these for me.
Oh, very
that
nice.
is lovely.
Hold on a second, I'll bring you up.
Dark matter gold. See if I can get
Oh.
pictures in focus.
That's just what's that, about 5.5, 6 inches overall?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, here's it next to the Gunslinger, and it's a little, you know, it's noticeably smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's still a nice EDC knife.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those little, like, you know, pocket fixed blades that become really popular. You just kind of slip that in your pocket.
Yep. I do the same. I have a couple of wee ones and I do exactly the same.
That's very nice. What's the steel on it, Donny?
Oh, that's MagnaCut. He made it in MagnaCut. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, he said it was a pain in the butt to work on.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, I think once all that it's all starting to die down a bit. And MagnaCut is lovely, and I've used it because I've had 3 or 4 MagnaCut knives recently, and it's a lovely steel. But is it a huge amount better than 20 CV or not really? It's just a different setup. You know, you get more of the 3 than you would with the other steels. But it is a lovely steel to wear. I find it very easy to sharpen, to be honest with you, and it strops lovely. The stropping is probably the biggest point for me. It's probably that highest grade material I've had that strops really well. But yeah, it's sort of dying down. I'm waiting now for the next one because I'm sure he has another one waiting to come in right on top of it.
That's it.
But so, did you meet a lot of people, or was it just mostly work? Did you have time to walk around booths?
I met a few new people, you know, made some new connections in the industry, you know, kind of reconnect. You get to reconnect with old friends because it's mostly people you're Instagramming messages to, and a lot of content creators go there, you know, YouTube guys, which is cool. Yeah. You know, had the pleasure of meeting, I think, like Melissa Backwoods. That was the first time I ever met her. She was there.
God, I followed her years upon years ago when she first started out. I was into bushcraft at the time, and she came up in the feed, and I never seen a feed grow as fast in my life. There were just buckets of people going. Every time you seen her, she gained about 10,000 subs.
Well,
She's a very attractive young lady too, but she's also very approachable and very talk. She seems that way anyway.
And very knowledgeable about the knife world. It's not, like she's tough and I mean, she knows her stuff in the knife game. She really does.
Yeah.
That's
really lovely. I'm sure there was a lot of women enjoyed meeting somebody like her there. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's really neat to see. Really, the more the merrier. Anyone come in and enjoy the hobby.
She's like the Indiana Jones for boys. She's the for young girls it must be stardom. Do you know what I mean? It literally must be stardom.
I think you would be going that way.
Yeah.
Your Tomb Raider.
Is Kathleen in? Kathleen
is in. Yes.
Kathleen, hello. How are you? Kathleen's our definite. She turns up every week. I love Kathleen. She's always here.
We've got a special request from Elan. Now you don't have to do what Elan says, but because he's a troublemaker and he's always causing trouble. But definitely, if you could, he's going to get his guitar for us.
Gibson.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, here I am. There we go.
Now check it out.
There's a nice little reflection there.
Means absolutely nothing to me.
But Alan, hopefully your tongue is tripping you and you're drooling. That is a very pretty guitar.
Thank you, sir.
Fortunately, we won't ask you to give us a tune. There's certain lines we're not willing to cross here.
I don't know anything about guitars. I take it that's the Jack Wolf of the guitar world.
It's just something that really resonated with me. It's called a Gibson SG, made famous by AC/DC and Black Sabbath, some of these old rock and roll bands.
Yeah. They're not that old. Hey, hang on. They're not that old.
And there's Kathleen actually teaches guitar, so we've got a captive audience here.
Well, yeah, I used to teach when I was back home before I worked for Jack Wolf. I worked for a little community college and did music teaching a little bit.
That's another hobby you can get hooked into, definitely, with the guitars, because you normally see people that play the guitar, but they don't just have one.
Oh no,
they have
my brother's one. He's got
a guitar rack,
4 and a ukulele. It all does.
Do you ever play the ukulele?
I have before. Yes, I have.
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing sound. Especially down south, when you go to the pubs at night time, you'll have the violins, the ukuleles, and the pub songs are just amazing.
Brilliant. So does a half batwing mean anything to you?
Half batwing. I think it's maybe the curve in the guitar, possibly.
All right. I'm learning so much. This is so good.
Yeah. But it's a thing. In the guitar world, knife world, you have these hobbyist groups that they just take things to next level. You have the entry model to the,
And it's funny, I hear an awful lot of people in the knife world. You get the stage, you get these people who as time goes on, a lot of people move up through the range of knives that you buy. I mean, I'm fortunate now I can sort of buy, sell, and trade, usually mostly trade and add money to get a custom knife. Now, not a completely high-end custom knife, but a good price custom knife. Mm-hmm. And I would be lost without that goal to get to it. I couldn't have stuck with I stuck with budget for quite a long time, but then it just happens. And then now I can't stop looking at custom knives. We were just talking before the show. I got another beautiful one. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It should be here tomorrow, and I can't wait to see it. But
there you go. Mikey says that the batwing is the pick guard.
Oh yes, the half one. Yeah, I understand what he's saying. Yep.
Whatever the pick guard
is. What's interesting with those hobbies, when people talk about price, for instance, we think about the price of, maybe our knives that come up. There is a diminishing rate of return, right? You could have a budget guitar, for instance, it costs you maybe $100.
Yeah.
Is it going to play the same notes that a $10,000 guitar will play? Yes. The percentage increase in price doesn't always bring the same percentage in maybe performance.
Yeah.
But it's an enthusiast thing. You want the very best.
But it's the same in terms of diminishing returns. It's the same with different things. Like, you know, if you're talking about video and or stereo and audio and quality and things like that, it's all about, you know, first of all, it was 720p, then it was 1080, now it's 4K,
5K,
and 5K. And I mean, can you still watch a movie in 1080p? Yes, you can.
I can still watch black and white ones.
So
I grew up with black and white ones. So it was just...
the trouble with it is you become a connoisseur or a collector or a fan of these things.
Mhm.
You really become sensitive probably to those little things that add to the pleasure of it. Whether or not it's worth the money, Donnie, that's anybody's guess.
I think that's where I've gone at the minute. I don't know whether you're like this, Donnie, but when I go for customs, I just don't buy new. Well, there's certain custom makers I can afford to buy new of, like Ashley Harrison, and I get all my pleasure from buying a new knife from Ashley. But when I'm buying them more expensive, this one I've just bought, it was just over £300 to buy. But if I was to buy it new, it was $699 when it came out, and that was 2 years ago. From the maker then. That's a big jump. I'm not ready for that jump yet. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a real strange thing. What about your collection? Have you managed to get yourself? Oh no, sorry. Yes,
Back to the show.
Okay.
There's a couple of questions I wanted to ask, because one of the things I saw was that did I pick that up right? That you sold out on the first day?
No, we sold all except one.
No,
one knife or one model.
Every knife that we brought, we sold all of them except one. So the first day we were Jack Wolf knives. The second day we were Jack Wolf knife. And by the end of the day, we were Jack Wolf knifeless. So that was
nice.
That is fantastic.
Right. I mean, that must have been a great. But was that on the first? What did you do the second day then?
Well, what's nice, what Ben has always done at the blade shows is we actually have display pieces. These are his personal knives of every single knife we've done. So, going all the way back to the, essentially, we don't have like V1s and V2s necessarily. So like we have sharpshooter, every single knife, maybe like, I think we had 2 of each model. And that way, just kind of give people an idea of what we do. Even though many people are disappointed that they can't buy that knife, they can at least, maybe make a mental note. Hey, I really like the K9 Jack. The next time that rolls around, I want to pick one up. They can see it. They can feel it. We've really made a lot of new fans doing that because they can put their hands on these knives that they maybe have only seen.
And I still believe that's a big thing for Jack Wolf. Once you put one in somebody's hand, the amount of people I know that have bought one after vehemently, they're never going to do it. And then they buy one and it's all changed because,
that's a line you never can walk back across.
Very true. I had a friend on Facebook say he bought one and he really enjoyed it. I think it was one of the Midnight Jacks. And, for some financial reason or something, he needed to return it. And he's like, I'm still dreaming of the walk and talk to this day. And I'm like, oh, my poor friend. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Well, I was out with a couple of mates yesterday. Yes, I have mates. Okay. And I was introducing them to the Midnight Jack, and I was introducing them because they're not knife people in any way, shape, or form. But I was telling them about walk and talk, and I mean, and I said that's the walk and that's the talk. And then I got them to hold it up to their ear, and that's the Jack Wolf talk right there. Philistines, Donnie, they didn't get it at all. And in fact, my mate Brian nearly took his ear off with it, which really was quite satisfying, I have to say. But when it cling, it was good. And the only reason I bring that up is because they promised to be lurking in the background today.
Right.
So they're probably waiting for their moment to pounce and say something embarrassing about me.
Collecting the Stan, there's another new one.
Absolutely. Although it has to be said that nobody in this chat box is in any way backward about giving me a hard time. So yeah. And I deserve it.
So what was your favorite knife that you seen at Blade Show?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Actually, one that stands out to me, and it may not be my favorite, but it was really kind of neat because of the world that we live in with slip joints. I think it's the company Heretic Knives. You maybe have heard of Heretic.
Yeah, they do out the fronts mostly, don't they?
Yeah, they it's kind of tactical,
Yeah.
out the front, a lot of that kind of stuff. But they made a really cool looking slip joint.
Whoa.
It was solid carbon fiber. I don't think, there was no bolsters, and it had like bright, like neon green back spring and blade, and it had like a rated blade. It was like, it looked just ridiculous, like out of this world, like zombie apocalypse knife. But
yeah, it'll probably get banned here in the UK.
Yeah, even for a slip joint, it was like it was serrated and it was just like over the top. It was
knife kind of job, yeah.
I mean, and it was useful. It definitely was like a high quality knife. It was you could use it and enjoy it, but it was so different than I'd seen in a while.
Yeah, CRKT have got a lovely little slip joint out this year. Little two-bladed one with Warncliffs on it, either end, small Warncliffe and a large, bit of a whittling knife. And I was just looking, they've actually got it over here now, so I might just get it. It's about 70 quid they're looking for it, and it's only Aussie 8 steel. Not that that matters because
but it does when the prices.
Yeah,
when there's a mismatch in the price.
But then again, this is where this sort of thing where you get lots of bickering and arguing about what steel should you be for a certain price. You can't do that, especially in custom knives. You just don't get. You very rarely get.
Not on a custom knife, but on a production knife.
Oh yes,
CRKT. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the thing, because I can sharpen, it doesn't really matter what the steel is.
No, but that's not my point. My point is, if you've got companies like Kaiser and Civivi and whatever else producing similar quality, or if not better quality knives, maybe not in that pattern, but in much higher end steels, or at least D2, or even VG10 for crying out loud. But it would Oz 8, or it's a bit of a backward step.
Well, this one that I've just shelled out £320 for is second hand, and it's still £320, and the blade steel is
1095.
No, I think it's no 01.
01. And your point? It's a custom. It's a custom. It's not a production.
But this, what is it? I don't see what I can't in my head see what the difference is. If it's steel that cuts and can sharpen, well,
that's fine.
I understand.
We could be here a while, Johnny. Brace yourself.
I'm gonna just turn off my video for a moment, you fellas.
Let's get back to John.
Right? Yes.
We'll talk after about that.
No.
About this one. Oh, dry your eyes. Dry your eyes. Anyway, Johnny, Nibs was going to ask you a question, and for once I don't actually know what the question was. So what was the question?
What we got?
You were going to ask him about the we were going to ask him about the gunslinger now, or we're going to ask him to have a look at his knives. What do you want to do?
We'll leave the gunslinger towards the end, because then that'll keep it fresh in people's minds, because it's going on sale tomorrow night. We'll have a look at some of Donnie's favorite knives, and please, in the audience, ask questions when you see a knife, and you want to hear anything more about it. Ask the question, and I'm sure Donnie or between the three of us, we could talk a bit about it.
Well, we do have one question for Kathleen that we can kick off on. So she doesn't own a Jack Wolf knife, but she's held a couple and loves the quality. So what do you think is the secret of the difference in quality between Jack Wolf and some of the competition?
Oh, very interesting question. What were you going to start?
I got a really simple one: consistency, and a consistent level of blade steel, manufacturing. It's hand finished. A lot of knives are not hand finished, and that really does tell when you handle one that's been hand finished. It's a huge difference.
That's a really good point, and I have a neat privilege of doing the inspections, so I have them all in front of me. So as most know, we have 5 colorways or whatever it might be. We're doing all of that same color at one time. So everything's unpackaged, they're laid out in front of me, and I'm maybe oiling them and inspecting edges and going through them. What's really cool when you get to do that, you can actually see a slight, minute variation between, particularly like blade grinds,
Yeah.
you know, swedges and things like that. You know, if you take 2 swedges and you kind of look, you know, especially maybe 5 swedges, like, oh, like that, and that guy got, you know, maybe he was a little, he went a little too far that way, or it's kind of neat to see that difference. It's not, we have so many production knives out there, especially in the lower price range. We're so familiar with, you know, Buck and Case and all these different knives. They're you know, they're stamped. It's a piece of steel. You're going to get the same kind of you know, blade. You're not going to have a lot of variation there.
No.
We're so used to that. We're not used to having this, you know, kind of hand ground thing going on. I think that's a big difference maker. Another thing is just the prototyping process. You know, if you got a guy like Ben, you know, obsessive, wanting things to be a certain way, you know, he's a slip joint guy at heart, and he knew what he wanted, and you know, he got it to where he needed it to be, and he got that through by his own passion of the knives, but also a lot of really skilled slip joint aficionados helped us, you know, early on get that into the way they should be. You know.
There's so much goes into it behind the scenes that we never have to think about. Absolutely, because like Joe LaPietra, he's got a knife that's now coming over to the UK. We've got him in at Frank's. Frank's going to be selling his. He's doing a friction folder, and it's a very modern take on a friction folder. I must send you a photograph of it. I'll send it to you tomorrow or tonight after the show. But what an amazing friction folder. It's unbelievable. It really is. Nice. It should be only a couple of weeks before they're on sale here. But when we ask him, and the same with Ben as well, when you ask him the details about, well, what do you have to check as you're going through the process? Well, the list is non-ending. It just, and then you think, well, I wouldn't have thought that. Well, I wouldn't have thought that. Well, it's just so many things that have to go into that knife before it hits the table. It's scary. And I'm talking about people who are designing and getting a knife made to their specific things. Not, you know, a lot of them out there, they do a drawing and get it made by Riyadh or something.
But actually, that degree of consistency then is given how much detail there is and how many steps there are in the process. That consistency is absolutely key to it all. Yeah, totally. Another question before we go on to your knives, Donnie, is what's the heat treat? What's the Rockwell hardness? I'm assuming too.
We have that at around 59 to 61. Just depends. I know there's some variation there. That's what it's been at.
Yeah. And that's absolutely fine for S90V. Absolutely, that's the working. You know, you can hard use that and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's optimal. I think it's optimal for that steel. I did the research on that a while back. You know, I know each steels has their own, level. I know MagnaCut is, optimum pretty high heat treat, for instance.
But yeah, they say the best is between, was it 63 to 64, and that's really at its best working level. Now, most people are doing it 62 to 63. I think it even goes up to 65. Some companies are doing it.
Okay, Donnie, I'm going to, have you seen this one coming up? I'm going to ask you what I want you to do is I want you to field this question and avoid it as much as possible. Okay?
Oh, no, I will take this one all day. This one, this is a home run, no one knows them. I'll put it that way. No one has heard of them. And this was a question I was kind of thinking about earlier. I'll take Chris Reeve knives, for instance. You take popular, companies in the United States. I learned that, okay, Case makes this knife and Buck makes this knife. And I've never been to that factory. I don't know these people who make these knives. I care about the knife, right? I have the knife in my hand. That's what I know of the knife. I don't know what the welcome center and the factory looks like and their bathrooms look like and, where they take out their trash. It's just, to me, it doesn't matter. And I understand why it does matter to some people, but honestly, I just don't, it doesn't make sense to me why it's such a big question.
No. Yeah. Where's your phone made?
Yeah.
They can call it Samsung, but the chances are it's not made in a Samsung factory. It could be made anywhere in China.
Yeah. and it's certainly, I mean, there's names like, yeah, someone mentioned QSP and Best Tech and Riot. All that is a name.
Yeah.
To all
Yeah.
of us. That's all it is. And what's neat is that name is connected to quality, a certain level of quality. And I feel like that's what's nice about something that Ben did, is the name of our brand and our company is associated to a level of quality. And that's as much as, it's no different if it was Riot, if it was QSP, or I don't know, all these different ones. It's associated with quality. And I think we're at the point where our brand is associated with quality.
It definitely is. So, I mean, I'm going to give this one to Stephen here, actually, Donny, because he's had both the QSP Hedgehog and the Jack McWolf knife. Not sure if you've had the Hedgehog. So
No, I haven't had the pleasure yet.
The Hedgehog is an absolutely perfectly fine knife, and that's right from the start, and that's not going to change. It is absolutely beautifully made, and it's made for that price range that it's in. It got made because you could make it for that price to fit it in there, and it's excellent value for that price. But it's still not the standard of a Jack Wolf knife, and that's you've got a standard that you want to keep to, and the difference, like you're saying, you don't maybe always get the diminishing we were talking about before started. This diminishing thing, the more you buy doesn't necessarily get you more. Well, Jack Wolf is at that limit for me, where it's right at that limit, the top end of a production knife, and a price that it is pricey. There's no doubt. For a lot of people it's pricey. For an awful lot of people it's not. But there's a lot of people that's pricey. That's why we have grails. That's why we call it your grail knife. It's something that's nearly unobtainable to what's in your head at the moment. But in time, things change. Mine has changed. Mine's changed dramatically over the years.
We'll be the first people to tell you, like, well, this might not be the best bang for the buck knife. Like, we're not going out there and making that claim. Some of these knives, like, they're able to sell direct to customer. They're not using a dealer network, for instance. Or maybe a dealer is ordering a particular knife and they're able to sell it at a nice discount. Like, that's huge. People don't realize, the markup on, let's say, Benchmade knives, for instance, the dealer markup is very, very high. So you take something like QSP, maybe they can sell it at a particular price because of particular things that aren't factored in. And yeah, bang for the buck, it is awesome. That's great. Enjoy. You know what I mean? But can you get maybe our level of fit and finish, our variety?
And the extra detail. Those diminishing returns, as we talked about, those little magical details that make a Jack Wolf, I think.
These are aficionado knives. I mean, it's very niche of a niche, and we love it. We're obsessed.
I had a local boy text me during the week, and he says, "Paddy, I got myself a Jack Wolf. He got it a while ago, and it started to have a bit of blade rock." And I said, "Well, just get Ben a ring." And he said, "Well, I don't want to send it back to him." I said, "Look, Ben would want you to. He doesn't want you sitting there with a knife you're not going to use, or it's going to sit there, and you're going to pass on a bad rep." Because I have never heard anybody say that they contacted Ben and didn't leave happy. And that's the other big part of it. That is a huge part of it. Because people say, "Oh, it's a China knife." It's not. It's Ben's knife. And when it comes to Ben, he is so particular with that knife that he wants you to have it in optimum condition. And we don't get an awful lot of complaints about. Well, I've never heard anybody that's not been satisfied. Now, maybe there is. It doesn't really matter. But the majority of knives that leave his hands are spot on.
Yeah, we absolutely pride ourselves in doing the absolute best that we can for anyone, anything that they need. Sure. I mean, honestly, it is to a fault. Like, it is to a fault. Ben goes above and beyond, and I'm like, bro, like, he's like, no, I have to make them happy. I need to make them happy. And you would not believe the customers he's won over, and the new, it pays off in the long run. I mean, he's just a good dude.
If you buy anything in any store or any shop throughout the world and something goes wrong with it, it's annoying.
Yeah. Oh,
but when you go into the shop and you've already you can stick your lawnmower up your backside in your head when you go to the shop, and you walk in there and the bloke says, "Yeah, I'll fix that, no problem," gives it.
No, it takes it all.
You're disarmed.
completely.
Because that's, I mean, there is going to be faults, especially there's handmade, especially the handmade things to do with Jack Wolf knives.
Oh,
There is a lot of hand finishing. And,
the number of fights I've had in my head with, after sales people about what the argument that you're going to have with them and the pre-prep that you do, getting your head in the game so that you'll win the argument, and then all of that is wasted. All of that tension, all of that adrenaline is wasted when they just go, I just sent that back. This is not a problem. It's the most frustrating thing because you're at the same time really impressed and really pleased, but also
that's why if you want that sort of reaction, buy case knives.
Well, we had a funny comment earlier on, Donnie, because you were saying that the case knives had a really big stand. And I think it was Alan said earlier, could you see the gaps in the case knives from where you were standing?
I talking to those fellows gave me a great perspective on the industry. They're doing great. Case is doing excellent. Have a great following. They cannot make enough knives, which is a wonderful thing to hear for the whole community. When the knife industry, when a large company is doing well, the rising tide raises, it lifts all boats, and it's great to see that the knife community is growing. I talked to fellows at the Benchmade; they're doing well. It's great to see the knife community doing really well. There was a really nice question Elon mentioned. I think it was about the different, that one right there. Why should I buy Jack Wolf when I could buy a custom knife from a South African artisan for the same price? What advantages did the Jack Wolf have over the other? It's a knife. They cut. The best way I can say about that, the advantage, it's buy what you want, enjoy what you want, take pleasure in what you're spending your money on. No one can tell you, no YouTuber can tell you that this knife is going to be better than that knife. It's once you pick it up, it's in your hand. That South African artisan can't make a Jack Wolf knife, and Jack Wolf knives can't make that South African custom knife.
Once you get to that level, it's what you see with your eyes. That's what you're buying. It's not even because that at that price, well, you expect at that price, you're going to get the quality. And if you get the quality and it still looks as pretty in your hand when you get it, that's it. It isn't an argument. It isn't a choice. You just see something really pretty and you buy it. I mean,
and let's not lie. We are knife guys, Elon. I would buy that South African knife and then a Jack Wolf knife a few months later, right? Like, kind of like, don't only have one knife. So.
Why is that? What's the problem? The choice, you've got three choices. You can either get the South African one or the Jack Wolf one or both. So.
And by the way, for fridge, that's always the best way. By the way, for fridge, and then ask for the money for that knife.
I'm going to need a second job, is all that means.
But no, it's funny actually, because just to sum up some of the conversation in the chat, because Mikey Newman was saying that yes, it's funny the details that collectors like us like to have, because it does add either to the mystique of the knife, even actually not knowing adds to the mystique of the knife, or knowing adds a little bit to it. So we all know that Riyadh's one of the quality ones, so it adds a little bit of a reputation to the behind the knife. If it's from South Africa or a Chris Reeve or whatever, then there's importance in the name. So knowing these things is important for collectors. I suppose the other side of it, and whether or not Elan was getting at it, is whether or not you can make a judgment on some of the production practices and things like that. And that's getting more and more difficult all the time. Although it's good to know that people are exercising a certain amount of responsibility in that.
And the nice thing is, there's quite a few companies in America, new companies that are making in America. This year, I've noticed a couple pop up, and that's fantastic because we're all for our home team. You want your home team, but you also want the choice of the rest of the world. You don't want an insular sort of all Americans buying American, all English buying English, and neither the two shall meet. That's no good at all. That's stale. We're stale within a year that happens.
Absolutely.
But I think it's definitely becoming part of the Jack Wolf mystique. That kind of little shadowy dealer who's actually
number 54.
Some kind of magic in the background,
In the social media world, we talk about engagement. It's just a little bit of engagement, right? It's something to talk about, and hey, we're having a good time with it. Speaking of smaller makers, I encourage, obviously this is, in the States here. It's actually a local company in Phoenix. Has anyone heard of Machine Wise? It's like machine and then WISE, Machine Wise. And they were doing like butterfly knives, specializing in butterfly knives. But they're doing a full titanium integral knife. And they're using the same like bushing pivot system that's in a butterfly knife. And you want to talk about smooth. Like he brought it to Blade Show. Speaking of maybe my favorite knife I saw at Blade Show. And you flip the flipper tab, and it's just as hydraulic smooth as you could ever imagine. And I wanted to meet these guys and see what their manufacturing was like here in Phoenix. It's like a group of like 4 20-year-olds and like CNC machines and 3D printers, and it's just like this little room. It is so cool to see that.
Yeah.
Well, I would
funny,
love for you guys to check it out.
You was talking about. He bought himself a CNC machine and taught himself how to do knives from college. And he does it in his dad's garage. That's because he couldn't get the machine. He lives in an apartment. So he has to go to his dad's house, make the knives there, and it goes back to these people that have got the imagination and it must be a hell of a strong desire to make something.
Yeah.
Talk about our passion. Their passion is way beyond what we can have.
True.
This is very true.
That's what I tell people. Ben loved knives so much he wanted to like have hundreds of them come into his house at one time. Oh my.
Yeah. Okay. Alain's got one last question before we move on to your knives, Donnie. What was the reasoning behind the change in the steel? Now, if I remember right, it was just that they ran out of M390, but was that pretty much what happened, Donnie?
No, not at all. Actually, it was like Elon's mentioning, like prioritizing edge retention. We had the multiple options in front of us with M390 and S90V, and we were like, man, like the S90V is like really, really performing. We first tried it out on the low drag jack, and we're like, this is like shredding through material. Like it just really suited what we were doing, because like as you guys know, even the Gunslinger jack, right, it's a locking knife, but this isn't a hard use, batoning folding knife. It's very thin edge geometry. It's really nice to have edge retention. It's for slicing tasks, and for slicing tasks we thought that S90V performed better than M390.
Awesome. So, especially on with such a thin geometry, the S90V would probably hold it longer for without the need to sharpen it. So, yeah, absolutely perfect.
I have some hard use friends. James Bailey's one of them on Facebook. He's processed deer with our knives, with our slip joint knives, and he's like, I rarely even need to sharpen them because of the edge geometry.
Yeah.
He just keeps going, and it's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah. Okay, Donnie, what have you got for us? Show us a knife.
Let's see. Oh, this is the benefit of having friends in high places. I got one of these. Tractor green.
Was that the green one?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've heard a lot about this, Donnie. Yeah. So, Stephen, I'm going to hand over to Stephen. So he's going to take you through the rumor control. You can.
What's the opening and closing like on it?
It's too soft. It's too soft. Yeah.
This is my fear. I've bought a couple of. They're my favorite knives, to be honest. That's what I collected before Jack Wolf knives. Is the GECs, and this last. I haven't bought one now. It must be nearly a year. In a new one. Because I don't like this. There seems to be a lot of basics are just not getting right in my idea. Yeah. And it's sad that this guy, and it's now being talked about all over the place. And it's not that the company has gone bad. I just don't know what they've just got really late. I bought one of their expensive ones I brought out last year. It was about £240, £270. I bought it, and it was pathetic. It nearly fell out of the blooming handle, and
Oh.
I thought, I'm not paying for it. I just sent it straight back. You know, I didn't even want it fixed. I thought, no, it put me off the knife.
I'll put it this way. My wife saw it, and my wife loved it. You know, Kim is like, "Oh, like it's so beautiful," and she pulled it. She's like, "Oh, this is so nice. This is so nice and easy to pull." And I'm like, so it's a girl's pull, is what you're saying?
Johnny, careful! There are ladies in the club tonight.
I've got knives with soft pulls, and I chose them even because of it. But my nice GECs have all got a half decent pull.
Yeah, at least a 5 or 6.
Well,
Yeah,
no more than that.
5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And my other one that I was going to show, I did pick up a gentleman's jack.
Well, I've had one of those.
Well, and this is even, I mean, to be like that is even softer. I mean, it is so soft, but it's so cool. I love it. And it's in honor of the new beard. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Now but GC are another one that have got a certain magic to them, a magic and mystique to them. That I have to admit, I think I'm kind of over GECs now, and I think it was that boy's knife. It was the TC Barlow in the green because it looked perfect. Both of us had our names down for it.
Yeah, we had our
and we would have snapped it up if we got it, but I think we would have both been disappointed with that pull.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it worked out okay for us.
Yeah, I think it's one of the nicest looking ones I've seen.
I know,
but I'm not going to put up with that.
Ben had the rustic brown, and he's like, you know, pick which one you want, you know, the rustic brown or the green. And I liked the look of the green, but the rustic brown had a better pull, but it was still not quite there. But I mean, and I understand, like, just coming from the inside looking out, you know, maybe in defense of GEC, maybe it's going to be an adjustment down the road because it's hard to make these adjustments immediately. You're always working months, if not half a year in advance.
That's nothing to do with backspring, Donnie. Sorry.
I know, but
you are so nice.
I'm just.
I appreciate the fact, and look, I would never want to run them down, but I think if they don't do something about it, they're going to lose that mystique. And once that goes, it's probably the last proper American knife company.
I know.
It happened here in England. Do you know what I mean? It just flatlined a lot of years ago. It's just starting to come back again now. But
well, let's not get ahead of the game. It's one night.
No, it's been a year.
It's 1 year. Okay.
Yeah, it's too long.
I'm going to shut up now. Can I just go to the chat very quickly because I'm kind of puzzled, Mikey. I think I've missed something because I don't know how I might possibly have offended you. But just to be clear, I don't care. And let's go. And Gadget Gus is probably on medication again because he's talking about escaping hamsters. The beard comb has been a favorite one. Kathleen wants to know if GEC were Ben's favorite before his own.
Yeah,
I know he was into a lot of other brands beforehand, but that really got him down the road of like avid collector.
Yeah. They were a production company that he liked.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, like if you notice any similarities in what we do to GEC, there's a reason behind that because we love that experience. And I'm new to it, but Ben, like, I mean, he has many GECs.
Every 15 pattern they've ever made. But Ben also had a passion for white bone and then white elephant tusk. I know you shouldn't really say that because it's not, but they're PC ones. They're reliably sourced. But he has the most wonderful collection of knives and high end as just. He brought them on the show one night, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He brought some of those really high end ones, and they're just
stunning. They really were.
Yeah,
check the back catalog. I'm sure it's in there, Donnie, somewhere. You know, and apart from anything else, it'll bump up the viewing figures.
Well, we recently actually opened up our office because we had, Corey Dunlap was sharing our office, and he's moved to another location. We have a lot more room, and so we're kind of bringing things from Ben's home. You know, all of Jack Wolf Knives is now in pretty much one location, you know, at the office. And I'm like, so Ben, like, are we going to bring the GECs there? Like, are we going to bring your collection? He's like, no. And I'm like, oh, Like, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. So I'm trying to get the whole collection.
Nice try.
Donnie,
I'll give you
I
that.
think you'd probably need a double floor on top of yours to
Yeah.
get all his knives in.
I know, but
And
Probably.
Yeah,
With the
with
GEC
GECs.
wing. With the GEC wing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or a slip joint museum just.
Ooh. A walk-in safe, just the walk-in.
Yeah.
Can you
Humidity
imagine,
controlled and
can you imagine the insurance on some of his knives that he's got? No, thank you.
Well, there is that. There is that. Okay, what else have you got, Donnie?
let's see. As I think I've mentioned before, I'm a big Chris Reeve fan.
But the
This is a lefty. But I had this done for me. This is actually an experience I'll share with you. I have, if you can see, there's a little engraving of my initials there, and just kind of a light engraving.
Very nice.
But speaking of customer service, Chris Reeve, they made a little mistake. I don't know what it was, and I had it sent in for blasting, and I wanted a new thumb stud and the engraving. They didn't charge me for it all. There's some little error or mix up, and I ended up getting like a call from Chris Reeve themselves and a message from Tim, and
That's lovely.
what is this all about? And that was really neat. They're probably one of my favorites. Is Chris Reeve. I have a.
Do you know, I love the Chris Reeves I've had, but I've sold them all.
I know you've never kept a single one.
The simple fact is they're easy to pass on. When you want money, a Chris Reeve, you don't lose much money on them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as like me, I buy mine secondhand.
Yeah.
Well, I bought one new one, but most of them, and they're just an easy way to get quick money. You can sell a Chris Reeve. I know I'll have another one because they're amazing knives.
Because they do circulate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okie doke, we do have.
Have you got
yes, we've got a question there just to intersperse with your own collection.
Oh, that's a good question. Will Jack Wolf ever have more than one blade? That the question is worded in a way I can say I sure hope so. Will there ever be? I mean, I don't know how soon. The issue there is there's actually kind of two issues. It's obviously completely re-engineering something. That's a whole new knife. That's a whole new just way the knife will be made. But it's also an issue of popularity. I didn't really realize this. Ben was telling me as a GEC fan and collector, he's like, well, like those two-bladed knives are typically not as popular. And so it's like, well, and that's hard on our end to, we have so many knives we need to do. We can easily be booked out for 2 years. And I'll tell you this already, like 2024 is done. Like we're booked. Like it's over. You know what I mean? And like it's so easy for us to see our catalog and things that we already have in the works. We have a lot of designing to do. There's a lot of options and things that we can do, but just not enough bandwidth. There's not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough Bens. We need to clone Ben.
Yeah. And it's also the demand as well, because you've now got a back catalog that people are constantly crying out for re-releases of, like the Gunslinger.
Yeah.
You've got that to play on, but you've also got the new ones that you want to play with yourselves. And that's maybe where the risk lies, but it's also where the excitement lies, and it's also where that all of that element of calculation in terms of what's going to work best in terms of the company and in terms of how you can get most bang for your buck as much as anything else.
Yeah, but I think you have to step outside your comfort zone. I think Ben is somebody that is that. Yeah. He will do it. It's when he gets the time to do it, I suppose, is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
that's another good question. Or a fixed blade. A fixed blade option would be.
Yeah. And we've got some options here, or Stockman, or Canoe, or or a Warncliffe Trapper.
This is what I think we should do. Maybe, once a year, do a special that is, just for that year, and he'll make so many of them as a special in addition to what they're doing, and then he'll be able to judge whether that one's a success. Well, don't do that again, and then move on to, and sort of once a year do something like that.
Yeah. And speaking of the specials, Donnie, I mean, you were showing us earlier before I forgot to press the button, that there is a special edition of the Gunslinger this time around, isn't there?
Yeah, this is actually through a company called Carry Commission. If anyone's heard of Taylor Martin or Best Damn EDC, It is green linen micarta. This is the first time we're using green linen.
You saw it here first, folks. Micarta is making a comeback.
Micarta. Let's see.
Well,
This is a stonewash blade. I don't know if that comes across.
It does actually. It's coming up really matte. Yeah.
And we're actually blasting. These screws are blasted, so they actually match the bolster.
Yeah, it does. It's a full.
And then a bronze anode backspacer. So there's a lot of new things in this exclusive. So it's exciting to see exclusives too. So I'm hoping we do.
Yeah. And what's the whole deal with the exclusives? You're working with this company to produce these or to distribute them, or what way is it working?
So essentially they reached out to us and was really excited and was hoping they could team up with us sometime. And so we let them know about the Gunslinger, and it's unanimously pretty much our most popular model. I mean, I was talking about clamoring back by popular demand. It was daily, multiple people, different people, every day, and that was kind of like we never had that before. That was pretty cool. Micarta.
yeah, Mikey Newman. It's definitely. And I mean, interestingly, if the Gunslinger is the most popular one, Mikey was actually wanting to know what's your favorite. Now, we're not going to put you on a spot and say what's your least favorite unless you really want to. But because I mean, you're a company man, you have to say you like them all. They're like your children, I suppose.
I think my favorite, man, that's really hard. I don't like. I kind of share Ben's sentimentality, or I guess ideology about favorites, where it's kind of like, just enjoy what you enjoy, and I'm not, necessarily lowering or raising things above others. I think there's sentimental ones. Like I think the Midnight Jack holds a sentimental place in my heart, just because the first one I saw that I was like, I bought it and I was a fan, right? And then I think what was really, really neat, and I have actually a customized one. I really, really enjoy the Feel Good Jack.
Oh,
but this one, as you see, it's actually been anodized and texturized, the screws. So I don't know if it's coming across.
It's beautiful. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
But this is I had a sage grouse leather make me an alligator slip. About as fancy as I can make it. I need a gold tooth now. I need something like
that.
And least favorite, I can't really say that this one I just don't really like. I mean, there's some that just, it's a challenge of being a knife guy in this industry. We're doing a monthly drop. I don't have enough hands. I don't have enough pockets, and just some fade away. Just like you can imagine, they don't get carried as often.
Yeah.
So maybe for instance, I'll put this as an example, like the low drag is probably one of my favorites, the big spear point blade. I just haven't carried it in a while. It makes me sad. I think about it even when I'm carrying other knives. I'm just
it's like being unfaithful, really, isn't it?
Exactly. I have to pull them before bed. I just look through all my knives and I have to
I've only one, and it's nothing to do with it's a Jack Wolf knife. I this year have fallen out with the sway back a bit. And before I used to like the sway back. It's not that the knife's bad at all. It's still a beautiful knife. But it's at the moment it would be my least carried knife in any knives that I've got that are sway backs. And I don't know why that happened, but it's just one of them things.
And I think we talk it up to like our everyday tasks too, like our everyday tasks. Like sometimes for me, like maybe the big swooping clip points, maybe have less utility for me in my everyday life. Everyone kind of has. That's what's cool about Jack Wolf, I think, is neat. Like if we're really looking for something that cuts apples really well, or I can do or I'm wanting to cut paper, or I'm kind of cutting tape. There's different kind of blade shapes and handle shapes that will fit what you like to do.
We did. Speaking of fading away, as you mentioned earlier, we got a good question from Eugene, who mentions the humpback jack, which seems to have disappeared.
I love that statement. It's gone from the site, but not our hearts, and that's the same. We actually have the tubes. We have some tubes with the artwork on them. Ben had done, and I saw them. Hopefully, that's not a company secret that I spilled. But it sadly needs to get some work done to it. The geometry of the spring, like Stephen was mentioning, springs, and Ben is a fan of stiff springs. We want a nice authoritative walk and talk, and it needs to feel like our knives, and it just didn't for some reason. So we need to work on that. And it's not gone. Like it's a really cool knife, and actually, I have seen the prototypes. Like, it was neat to see those from the.
Yeah, it was probably one of the knives that surprised me the most, of how comfortable it was in the hand.
Yeah,
really, really comfortable.
What the humpback?
Yeah,
It was never released. Are you thinking about something else?
He had them available at Blade shows for people to try out. He brought the prototypes there.
Oh, I mustn't have. I don't know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
what am I thinking about? Oh, I know what
The
I'm
Javelina, is it?
No, it's the
K9.
No, the one you got off me, and then I just got this year, and it's staying forever.
The Vampire.
The Vampire.
Oh yeah.
When I first got it, I just didn't get on with it whatsoever. He got it off me, and then this year they brought it out again, completely different. I wouldn't swap it for the world.
That's one of my favorites. I have the original, and it's just
an EDC knife. It has everything.
The Vampire has, for me, is the same as the Midnight Jack for you, Donnie. It's a sentimental one for me. It's
I have it. The bolsters are all beat up, and
mine's in the micarta as well. It's in blue.
Yeah, I love it. It's
fantastic. Yeah, we've got this is probably one of the best suggestions I've seen tonight. And given that I'm a Swiss Army fan myself, I think you really need to take this one back to Ben.
Jackal, I like it.
I mean, it sells itself, Donnie. Come on.
Jackal, that would be really cool. I think it would be so cool if we did. I know there's a lot of like two bladed options, but like kind of like the Beer Buster, GEC with the maybe like a cap lifter, and then maybe like a flat bar, like a flathead screwdriver or something. But
see, that's that.
Leaves you.
We don't have flat screws over here. Everything is posi drive over here, and has been for years.
Well, it could be like a pry tool. You can kind of lift things.
Yeah, right. I'm not prying my GEC. I have pry bars for that sort of thing. These things are great.
Oh, Jesse's coming out with all of them. Although every time Jesse makes a crack about small things, he usually is having to dig at me. But it's good material. I have to give him credit for
That's a good question. Like, what's the overall consensus about small? Like we have the little Brojack. That's the smallest we've done.
Yeah.
To me, like, it's more than enough knife. It seems
absolutely one of my favorites. I think it should be in a Barlow, bareheaded Barlow. Definitely, Barlows are really in trend at the minute. There's an awful lot of people getting into slip joints, and they're going for that Barlow. And I think a Barlow is like, it looks beautifully. It mightn't do every job as well, but for me, I'm a Barlow man anyway. But I don't care what the shape is in the knife. A little small Barlow like that, number 15 GEC size, that boy's knife, which is a universal size. I just think Ben could kick it out of the park, do 4 or 5 different models in 1 year, and sell them all out.
Well, there you go.
I love it. I love the idea. Midknife Crisis gives a great suggestion too.
Yeah, I'm deliberately not putting that up. He's not getting any screen time with that one.
I will answer like the removable scales question is actually really interesting, because I gave this to Ben like a year ago. I'm like, that would be really cool. Like there's a nice opportunity to kind of to swap them. But our issue is we tried. We'd actually would like to do something like that, but the hand finishing.
Yep,
that's can't do it. You cannot do it. If you open up and like if you I don't recommend it to everyone. It's not a lot of fun. Disassembling, maybe the Gunslinger, these, a lot of little parts, a lot of fidgety things, they're numbered. Your scale, your covers are numbered.
Yeah.
And so if you swap out, like me and Ben have done it, and they don't line up, you would be disappointed.
Yeah,
you'd be very disappointed if we did that.
And I think it's that sort of, it's that kind of, I mean, you toss the coin kind of thing. It's sort of, you either get the fit and finish on this put together hand finished knife, or you get more of a generic feel, but you get the swappability as you would do, like with the Lander or that.
Yeah,
which has its appeal, but it's not Jack Wolf, and it is a pity. I'd agree. I'd love to have customizable scales, but at the same time, I think you're right that even the tiniest variation in the stuff, you would probably be a bit of a disappointment.
But that is the big thing, is because of the hand finish. It's not like they just cut a whole lot of covers, throw them in the big box, and then somebody picks two out, puts it on. They don't. Yeah. That knife is taken care of when it leaves. Once it's created then in one, a system with yours is fitted perfectly to that knife, and that's the consistency. If you muck with that and lose it, it's hard to get it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Midnight Crisis, you don't need to worry, kiddo. Just stop listening to Sean and Mikey. They're leading you astray. I'm just saying that. But we're coming up on. We're just past the hour, Donnie. So I think it's time we get into the Gunslinger before we lose it completely.
Well, stick a picture. This is the one I got up, Donnie, and that'll take this one out. You'll not have to do it.
Absolutely.
We've got ours. This is our new cam shot, which we're very proud of. And I went for this one because I had a choice, and I went for this one. This is the all titanium, and the other one that I have that I actually love is the one that's got the jigging on the titanium. And then I seen this one, the checkered look. Oh my God, I fell for this immediately.
You're getting so modern with your choices, Stephen. What's going on?
I've really changed, honestly. Jack Wolf has done so much for me in my opening my mind up to different things again. But this is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's one of the things that I really do love about a Jack Wolf. When you look at the grind lines on a Jack Wolf, he just took it off. And it's lovely there.
There we go.
You see that grind line. It is, they're almost perfect every single time. And that is an awful hard thing to do and get it right. I mean, gosh, you're going to get slight little variants, but it's nearly perfect every time I've had one. And I think I love that look. I love the long pull on this time. The checkering and the three rings, that is sexiness and a little bit of metal. That just really, and it's been in my pocket an awful lot.
Well, I mean, as I haven't been shy about saying, I disagree completely with Stephen on this one. I think the checkering and the titanium is just dull. I'm not going to say that it's awful, because it's such a gorgeous knife. I mean, the action on this is unbelievable. I mean, look at this. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's very hard to do that straight over there.
Especially over there.
Watch someone cut their finger off like close-up camera.
Yeah, no, I'm close-up camera. What we'll do is we'll switch back to you, Donnie, so that you can actually show the rest.
Donnie has the rest of the knives.
But show us something sexy. No, it's really sexy.
Well, I'll start with the slip.
Oh yes, you've been really upgrading.
At on our website, we've been doing some custom leather work, and Troy at Northwoods Leather, River Sage Grouse Leather, and tailored by Cortez. He actually made this, and I think we still have a handful on our website, but I've been carrying this guy without a clip.
Funny, I'm kicking my clip off after this tonight. I'm kicking mine off tomorrow and carrying it in a slip.
Look at the action on that. Donnie knows how to do it properly. Look at that.
You got to know. I mean, you're doing it, every time, every day. So we thought that was kind of a neat.
It's beautiful.
But sadly, of course, the Gunslinger doesn't come with a slip. But if you remove the clip, you can plop it in one.
Yeah.
So that's the gold. We did hand satin this time on the gold.
Very nice.
I'm a great lover of that hand satin. It's done so well for a reduction knife.
Show us something different, Donnie. Can we see the ironwood one?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, here we go. Obviously, it's kind of hard to see there, but we have. I think
what's the variation on the green like on these?
It's gonna be probably a little less variation than the rosewood. The rosewood had kind of a little bit more spectrum. You're gonna get a lot of nice grain here. there wasn't as many like plain ones. But what's cool is, again, like, having the opportunity to inspect all of them out and before you, what I get that privilege of doing. It's really cool being like, there's not a dud in the batch, right? Like, they all look good. And, I get to pick out, one for myself. And,
well, obviously you would take the worst one, Donnie, because that's your nature,
yeah, that's it, right? But it's like, you can't pick. It's like, it's like picking, but how do you pick one out of so many great looking knives? So I think the polish, it's like a satin polish. It's not obviously a mirror, but that turned out nice on the clip.
I think it's the ironwood works much better for me than the rosewood did. The rosewood was slightly dull, I think, but the ironwood's got definite warmth in it, and that polish to it, it makes a difference. It makes it stand out. It works a lot better this time around, I think.
Oh, glad to hear.
Yeah, but it's interesting. What else have you got for us?
We have Nebula, which is become a really popular carbon fiber material.
It's
a light blue, so it's not the same blue as the checkered. This is a light blue anodization with the back spring too, and then belt satin finish. These turned out really nice. I know it's not quite as maybe as crazy as something like Kieranite, but these turned out nicely as well.
Oh, look at, now you're talking.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it for me.
Oh, I don't know. I think that is just.
I'm going to have to get one just for the sake of getting one to see if it does. But
that is, no, I like that. With the Kieranite and the all blacked out.
Have you got your hands on some Kieranite yet? I think you have.
I got the little Brolin
Kieranite,
and I absolutely love it. But I really need to get a big one in Kieranite and just see.
Because you have so much surface now of these bigger knives. It's big old slab of Kieranite.
I haven't had an all black one, and I think I'm going to have to get that one, not just for me, so that my subs can see one up close and personal. I think I'll have to get an all black one.
I think what's cool about these, and I've been telling a lot of guys, it's just like, it's neat. It's just something you don't see in the knife world right now. Yeah. Modern traditional with some of these, more exotic handle materials. Really nice. Really nice.
You see the knife that's coming this month? Is there an all black one in it?
The Gunslinger. So this is the one that's black. Is the
sorry, the next knife that's coming up.
Careful. Oh, the next knife that's come up. Well, I'll tell you at the end of the live stream.
Yeah. I'll tell you all after.
So that was so we had two carbon fibers, the wood, the ironwood, the titanium checkered. There's also the titanium. Is it the blasted or the jigged titanium?
No,
we just have the checkered, the one that you have.
That's actually a better picture on that. He's done the screws. All the screws have been what do they call that? Colored.
Oh yeah, the anodization. Yeah.
All the screws have been anodized, and I think it just pops. It really pops. And we didn't get that. I'll get the lighting sorted out for that. Our own cam for next week.
It's a little bit of a homage to like the classic, Benza and Cosi blue and gray. It's cool.
It's when I was talking today. I've done a different thing again today. I was just putting it against another knife that's in the same price range. And do you know what it actually done for me? It was confirmed the quality, that the money you're getting. I put it up against the Benchmade bug out, but the bug out had titanium scales. It was fully loaded up. It had 20 CV steel, and they were about the same price to buy. And it was just me talking through each and trying to get. But by the end of it, I talked myself into buying a Jack Wolf knife, just because there's nothing wrong with a bug out. Fantastic knife. It's so popular. But you buy a bug out, and then you have to buy titanium scales. You have to add all these other bits that you want on it, and it comes dearer than a Jack Wolf sometimes. And I just don't think it's got that same quality. And that's what I absolutely convinced myself, no, I'm going to buy Jack Wolf
instead.
Josh is one of our a really close friend of mine in our Facebook group. He
so does he know that so basically you're the Tom Holland of Jack Wolf? You're You're the one that always spells the Marvel mysteries.
Well, we already know that Ben is Fort Knox, so I mean, I can't get better than Ben. Like you can't top that. So
Oh, you can tell us.
No, he's gonna live with Ben. He's gonna work with Ben. He's gonna
I
get
love my job. I'll just tell you that.
paid.
I do not want to lose it.
Donnie. So was that the last of them, Donnie?
Yeah, that's all 6. We have this is the first time. This is the first time we're doing 6 variations. I think that one will sneak under the radar. It'll be hard, sadly, for you fellows, in Europe to pick one of these up because that's going to be sold exclusively through Carry Commission.
Yeah, and that's the nice harder one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that will be
So
the same.
basically, you're the OEM for people are always confused about what an OEM is. You're actually being an OEM to him. You're making his knife, aren't you?
Yeah.
Basically, that's what you are as an OEM for him, and then you can buy the knives through him.
Yep, it was an exclusive. He wanted to do something, kind of. They picked this combo. They picked out the colors, and then we got them sent their way.
Great.
Tim, all I would say is yes, 34 watching and only 24 thumbs up. Tough crowd. Yeah, what can I tell you? It's hard to please them. It's hard to please.
That means 10 thumbs down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They cancel out each other. So, Donnie, tell us. Give us the gen on when they're coming out. What's the full release?
Oh man, the worst. So like the numbers and the specifics. That's always tough for me. No, so we'll be dropping tomorrow. We know pretty much we do the same time. It'll be I think. Oh my gosh,
Donnie, listen. I have a video up. If you're on here and you join afterwards, I have a video 2 videos ago where I go through going into the Jack Wolf's website and where to find out where the knives are, where to find out where the dealers are, and all that. So I done a video so that everybody knew where to go to.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's also so for those here in the States, it's like 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Or 3, and then it would be like 11 a.m. Pacific. I don't know about your time for you guys, and I know some of our European dealers will adjust the time accordingly for you guys. What's best for you?
Ours is still 1900.
So 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So get on to Fremar 9.
And he only has a selected amount, sadly. Well, it's not sadly because it's a good thing. Frank wasn't doing the locking knives because he was frightened of importing them into the country and losing them. So he decided this month, what I thought was really brave of, and I'm so glad he did it. He took a few of each, but he hasn't got many. So if you want a particular type, you really genuinely this month have to get in. He only has a couple of each, but he's now in the future. Hopefully that's him settled, and he's going to take a full batch the next time that we'll have a locking knife. So that's brilliant, and thank you, Frank, for risking, because it was against his better judgment, but he loved the knife so much he just wanted to bring it in for his customers.
Absolutely, Randy. I see you guys got a lot of snow coming. I think Flagstaff has got like 2 feet of snow on its way. A big storm is kind of blowing down.
This man's a skiing machine, I've heard. So, but you also have to be very, very careful with invitations from Randy, Donnie, because his basement is full of visitors who have never been allowed to leave. Okay.
Yeah. He has the most feared basement in the United States.
No, yeah, I mean Mikey, who is one of the most reputable souls in this community.
Yeah, like Elvis would say.
Would second that statement absolutely. Donnie, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for filling in for his Benship himself. Tell Ben to get better. We hope he's doing well, and we look forward to seeing him next time.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you everybody for joining us.
And Donnie, tell your wife she's miserable. She never even come in and said hello.
No, yeah,
gone right down the Irish. The boys here will be talking about it for weeks now.
He didn't want to talk to you guys. No.
Easily disappointed. Folks, thank you very, very much for joining us and for sticking around with the technical hiccup at the beginning.
Yeah, that's it.
But and I'm sure
hit the like button on the way out, yeah, thugs.
And thanking Donnie for joining us tonight. So
my pleasure.
All the best, folks.
Take care.
Johnny, hang around, and guys, we'll see you next week. All the best.
Well, that's if he turns it off. We could be here for a while.
Next Jack Wolf knife is.
And Mark are joining us.
Sorry.
Next week.
Yeah.
And the next Jack Wolf knife is.
Oh gosh, they're gone.